In JavaScript, there are a number of methods to process arrays. However, amongst these, there are two methods which we would be using very frequently. So now let's see these two methods and how to use them. So let me create a array nums equals 1, 2, 3, 4, and now let's print it. Okay, now let's say that I want to double every item of this list, and the outputs that we get, I want to save them in a list and print it. So the expected output is 2468. So for this, we can use the map function. And now let's create a new variable doubles in which we would be saving the output list, and doubles equals nums dot, that is applying map function on it. So nums dot map, and this map function takes as an input another function, and this input function is applied over every item of the list. So in the map, if we make a function which takes an input and for that input return its double value, that function would be applied over every item of the nums array. So now in map, let's write function, and in function we can pass any arbitrary parameter like n, and now let's return 2 times n. So now this function would be applied over 1, then 2, then 3, and then 4, and every output that we receive would be saved in the doubles list. So we can see that when we print doubles, we get 2, 4, 6, 8, and they are in a list. And if the function that we pass in map, we change its return from 2 times n to n times n, and we print it, we can see that in outputs we have the squares of the original numbers. So now we can see that in the original list, the items are 1 to 1 mapped. So now in the input function, if we return n plus 2 instead of n times n, we can see that in the output we have 3, 4, 5, 6. Next, let's see how to filter a list depending on some conditions. So just like in map, we pass an input list and every item of that list is 1 to 1 mapped with an output item. In filter, we make a function and that function is applied over the original list, and that function would determine whether the input value from the original list has to be kept in the result or whether it has to be removed. So for the values for which we return true will be kept in the result, and the values for which we return false would be filtered out of the result. So here we use the original list nums and filter it in such a way that only the even numbers are left in the list and the odd numbers are removed. So here I am writing var events equals nums dot filter, and in filter we pass a function in which one by one every value of nums would be passed, like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and for each value of n we will test that whether it is divisible by 2 or not. So for that we check whether n mod 2 equals 0 or not, and if it is equal to 0, it means that it is divisible by 2 and hence it's even. So for that we return true, otherwise we return false. So now we can see that in the output we have a list of 2 and 4. So now if in the function that we have passed in filter, I change it in a way that it returns those values which are actually not divisible by 2, we will get 3, 1 and 3, which are the odd numbers. And if we change the condition that we return true for those values which are greater than 2, we will get 3 and 4 in the output, and 1 and 2 would be filtered out. So in filter, we pass a function which will return true or false, and if it returns true, then that item or the input value has to be preserved for the result, and otherwise if it returns false, we filter out of the result.